Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm going to cover some ground I think my colleague, Senator Van Hollen, covered. We can't have a hearing on public transit without talking about Metro. I think, as Senator Van Hollen already mentioned, in many ways, the federal government literally runs on Metro. I think pointed out that close to 40% of Metro's riders during rush hour are federal employees, and that is critically important to the functioning of our government. WMATA also serves a critically important role in terms of continuation of government in the event of a disaster. If we ever have to deal with an evacuation similar to what we dealt with post 9/11, the burden falls on Metro. As well as the fact that this is the nation's metro system. It is obviously used on a regular basis by tourists who always come to Washington, or is absolutely critical in national events like inaugurations. Back in 2008, Congress put together and recognized this in the PREA legislation back then and laid out a 10-year, $150 million a year commitment from the federal government to Washington's Metro to make sure that we would have that long-term investment in the safety and viability of the system. At that moment, there was also a request for the local jurisdictions, D.C., Maryland, and Virginia, to step up and do more. Those local jurisdictions have stepped up and do more. They have committed an additional $500 million to make sure that Metro can have the safe, efficient system that the region needs, but our country needs as well. So, as probably been mentioned, along with Senator Van Hollen, Senator Cardin, Senator Kaine, and I have put in another 10-year reauthorization of Metro with those $150 million a year. I'm happy to see that the administration this year has gone ahead and put forward in the President's budget that $150 million, but we do need this 10-year authorization. I'm looking forward to working on this committee and with members on both sides of the aisle, and I thank the chairman and the ranking member for their willingness to listen on this. It's critical that it gets done this year. Mr. Skoulides, have I forgotten anything in terms of my description of the importance that Metro plays to the national capital area and, frankly, as the nation's metro system?
Senator, thank you. No, I would simply say, I will tell you as someone who's been in this industry for 40 years and has been on the operating side as well, we have a marvelous system in the WMATA system here in the district and beyond, and we're very fortunate to have that. But it underscores the importance of keeping up with the investment needs that it has. Otherwise, we suffer, as we have over the last several years, with delays, with breakdowns, with really unreliable service. I think WMATA has turned the corner on that in good measure, in large part because of the investment that's coming. So there is no shortcut to getting where we need to go. And really, WMATA and Washington, D.C. are not the only example. We can go to New York, we can go to Chicago, we can go to San Francisco, we can go all over the country.
Not on my 5 minutes. But you know,
we have a great need.
And be the first to acknowledge that as one of the newest systems in our country, I think for a long time, you know, we coasted without putting appropriate maintenance in. And then as we've seen in the last decade, literally, we've seen the failure to continue to reinvest in that maintenance, and I do think the system is turning the corner. But that continued federal commitment must be maintained. I mean, the local jurisdictions have stepped up in a level that, frankly, I wasn't even sure they were going to step up. They have. We do need that 10-year reauthorization, and I know we've been working with the chairman for some time on this issue. I don't agree with this administration on a number of things, but I was happy to see the president put that good faith $150 million down. But we've got to have that predictability. Local jurisdictions have stepped up. As been mentioned, the federal government couldn't function without Metro. The federal government's got to do its share, and my hope is that we can see that pass this year. I've got only one, and I'll allow the other members to raise the other great Metro systems around the country. One issue I want to just briefly touch with Mr. Mortimer. One of the other areas in Virginia where we've got enormous transportation challenges is the I-81 corridor. We're not here on, it's not necessarily a public transit issue, but with the amount of traffic and particularly commerce that flows for the whole East Coast on I-81 and the level of bottlenecks, the level of safety concerns, I know with the Chamber's interest in both the infra and the Bill Grant programs, you've been supportive of these efforts. I've got a legislation with Senator Blunt that would put additional financing tools in place. But if you could speak to that in these remaining seconds, I'd appreciate it, particularly
Sure,
as it
Senator.
applies
Very
to
aware of
81.
that effort, and I know a lot of our chambers in the region have tried to work with other leaders to figure that out. And again, it's a shared responsibility, federal, state, and local. There needs to be a solution. We've been talking about it for too long, and so we certainly are convincing our chambers, and we recognize it's not just a Virginia issue. It's broader than that, and so that's where the federal investment is needed. And so we hopefully that can get done in the near future.
And we're proud of the fact that we've got both chamber support, labor support, and others on the I-81 corridor, and we hope we can actually get to a solution. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator Warner. And Senator Brown has another